Say, you look like you've lived a hard life. Why don't you sit down and let me tell you a tale of the man with the devil's shadow. Long ago now, at the time of the final hurdle, a man by the name of Terry Bryce was born in the town of Voomthal. He was an unlucky fella, straight from childhood. The money his pappy gave him would go missing overnight. Animals would avoid him like a disease, and scrawny kid that he was, Terry was bullied by other kids, so he kept to himself. And even when he wasn't getting picked on, well, he'd still manage to come home with scrapes and bruises. Despite all this, Terry tried his damnedest to live his life and make his folks proud. He studied up in school and was right smart with numbers. It was at 12 years old when the first tragedy struck. Rainy day on the way to church, wagon fell off the road, landing into a deep ditch, crushing them both. His folks, proud as they were, would never get to see Terry finish school. From there, Terry's life was pocked by tragedies everywhere he went. He would find himself fired from the odd jobs he tried to keep himself afloat with. Some kind of accident that would cause him to get fired. There was always something that would happen. Finding the only thing he seemed to be good at was drinking and counting cards. On the first night he spent in the hoosegow, he began to think of himself as cursed. He'd been thrown in on account of fighting in a saloon. Between the drinking, being called a cheat, and taunted about his folks, Terry's fists seemed to have a mind of their own. His cell was quiet. The cold night sobered him up just enough. Terry said out loud to the cold, bright moon,
How did it come to this? I've always been a good kid. Went to church on Sundays with Ma and Pa. Did my chores and helped out around best I could. Those Magellan brothers always tried to make me fight, but I didn't let them get to me. Ma, Pa, I'm so sorry. I'm cursed, and I killed y'all because of it. I promise, I'll find a way to break this curse soon, and make y'all proud.
It's a promise he wouldn't be able to keep for a long time. But he believed it well enough. And when morning came, he talked to the sheriff. Found him to be a kind man that didn't want no trouble for Terry. The sheriff had heard about the hand this poor kid had been dealt, and he didn't judge him for it. Terry thanked them, promised them it would be the last time he'd ever see him in these cells again. He wouldn't be able to keep that promise either. Terry had found some semblance of a job at the mines a couple years later. Even managed to find love despite his luck. But then, tragedy struck again. The week Terry was to be wed, she died. Shot in the back by a scoundrel that Terry had played cards with the night before. He tried to find peace once again at the bottom of a bottle after that. But the tragedies became more frequent. Cave-in at the mine while Terry was working. Saloon caught on fire. Train through town derailed and crashed just as he was about to get on. The only thing the townsfolk could find that linked them together was Terry, present at every one. They whispered behind his back that the devil himself was following Terry. Eventually, Terry left, tried to escape his curse and headed further west. But whispers of the man followed by the devil continued wherever he went, and people seemed to know when they saw him that he was the man with the devil's shadow, bringing ruin everywhere he could. After a few more years and tragedies, Terry returned to Voomthal, the one place he could call home. However, as he arrived, he was met with scared, stunned stares. No one recognized Terry. No, all they saw was a devil that trailed behind him. Terry ran to the sheriff's house, and relief washed over him when the door opened, and the kind old sheriff called him by his name. The sheriff invited him in, and they got to chatting for a bit. The feeling of comfort that Terry had almost forgotten about cut short when he took his belt off to put on the table. The gun in the holster went off, struck the sheriff right in the head. He knew if he stayed, the townsfolk of Voomthal would find out, and he'd be lynched. So Terry ran, straight out of town and into the cold, dark desert. And when his legs couldn't run no more, he wept. Oh, he wept and cursed this world. He cursed his curse because it took everything from him. And it didn't matter what he did, because there was always something to be taken from him. There was always something. In the midst of his rage and sadness, a man appeared behind Terry. Standing just at the edge of a shadow, lit by the moon, this man had a suit as black as the night and eyes as blue as the sky. A strange, satisfied look painted on his face. It was a while before he spoke, as if he was drinking in the misery.
You've lived a hard life, Terry. That curse on you been nothing but trouble, I can see.
The man said eventually.
Huh? Who are you? How do you know about me?
Oh, I'm just a friend, a gentleman, someone who can help.
Help? How?
I can break that curse of yours, cut your ties to it, make you free of it. But nothing in this world comes for free, 'cause there's always something. So let's make a deal. I break your curse, and you do just a few small favors for me.
Terry thought long and hard about his life, and everywhere he's been and everything he's tried to break the curse. Well, none of it worked. They even got others killed trying to help him. And the one thing that Terry was most afraid of? Dying and failing to keep his promise that he made to himself and his parents. If this man was telling the truth, well, he'd be finally free.
All right. You've got yourself a deal, mister. But you break this curse first, and if I see you did, then I'll do you those favors.
Deal.
The gentleman said, grinning, and shook hands with Terry. The instant Terry shook hands with the gentleman, he felt lighter. Lighter than he'd ever felt his entire life. Oh, he yipped and hollered and danced around before turning back to thank the man and ask his name. But when he did, all he saw was his own shadow dancing in the pale moonlight. The man came to Terry every now and again with some kind of favor. Some awful, some not, but it was always something. And Terry? Well, Terry didn't mind one bit, because he was finally, truly free. So, how about it? You want to make a deal?